The future is here. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. A Hot 100 chart, updated daily. The most accurate price guide on the market. Every card has its own profile with a wealth of information. Know the precise, real-time value of any card in the system. On demand. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby. The game changer is here. Card Ladder.
Yo.
What's up?
What's going on, man?
Looks like people took our advice from the episode 2 of Sports Cards Culture, because I now have 6 eBay gift cards.
I'm sorry, who got?
We did.
Yeah.
Some of those may have been to Christina also, but she knows who to give them to.
Maybe now you can finally buy that half of a Luka Prism PSA 10.
I was actually going to go buy Ja Morant, because he had 44 points as the Grizzlies lost to the Spurs. So I think that,
Smart.
Isn't that what I'm supposed to do?
I always buy guys as they're peaking. I like to buy high and sell low.
We were talking about this the other day. It's only by the grace of the hobby's rising tide that people have been able to just chase trends and still even profit. Right.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, people that buy these guys are making money, and they have been for years. 2 years.
Yeah. Yep. We'll let it fill up for a little bit. I have another gift to show off. This one is a gift to anybody who follows me.
It's still funny, though, like when I sort by who's gone up the most over the last month, it's still like not the players that we're talking about.
Who are you seeing?
Like Zach LaVine's number 1, Devontae Graham, Kyle Guy, Kevin Durant.
Yeah. So Zach LaVine is the beneficiary, I think, of just seeming undervalued. I think he's the beneficiary of that. And Durant is the beneficiary of Gary Vee tweeting, you only have 30 minutes until Kevin Durant plays again. Better buy his rookies now. Kyle Guy had that one big game.
Yeah, and there's the Morant Silver.
The Morant Silver. So in his first game, Morant, like I said, he had 44 points. And the Silver PSA 10 went from 3,350 to 4,400 in 2 days. So, like,
Thanks.
Yeah, if we were only looking at 2 days or maybe the daily value change function, maybe that would tell a slightly different story. I don't know. So, all right. Let's get going. Welcome, everybody, to the crossover, December 26th, 2020. An unusual but special Saturday edition. See, the chat is already foaming at the mouth to discuss Ja Morant and Trae Young. And I think we will. I hope everybody is having a good holiday break. Josh, do you have any hobby-related gifts you want to show off, or no? Or did you just get clothes and bubble wrap?
I did, I did get clothes. I got one eBay gift card, a lot of Chipotle gift cards. My family knows me well. I eat at least once a week. I did get a printer, so that will help me with my shipping speeds.
Oh, nice one.
So, no, I'm pretty low key with the gifts. I'm not a big gift receiver or giver, to be honest.
That's fair. It gets to a point where it's just like most people we know just go and buy what they want if they don't have it. Grant is here. Waldorf Stories, he got a pretty cool gift. Huge slab holder that displays a bunch of slabs. That was pretty cool. Okay. All right. Okay. I need to just address this question. A lot of people have asked this. Let me just get out of the way. This is from the legend of MJ23. He said, is Chris Hogg, but I think he meant Hoj, the voiceover of SCC intros, or is it his alter ego? It's actually neither. It's Nick, the show's producer, who does the "Welcome to SCC."
Oh my God, that was so bad.
Actually, it's Christina. It's Christina who does that voice.
Welcome to SCC. I can't.
Okay. All right. So got that one out of the way. All right. Now let's talk some NBA. Because every team has pretty much played 2 games or close to it. So I think we know pretty much what's going to happen for the rest of the career of all these players. So Riverfront Collectibles asks, is Anthony Davis the most unstoppable force in the NBA? If not, let's discuss. So let's talk a little bit of NBA, and Anthony Davis will kick us off.
I mean, you know how I feel about this, man. I've been trying to convince you of Anthony Davis for the last 2 years. I feel like you're coming around to it slowly, but he still has like some things that are kind of annoying about his game. Like he doesn't quite assert his dominance as often as he could or should. But I think what David's getting at is that, like, when you do see it, it's like, oh my gosh, you literally can't stop this guy. Like yesterday's game, he would like hit a 3, step back 3. He would post up a guy and do a turnaround J. He would post up a guy and like spin around, get to the basket. He's running the floor and getting lobs. He's in the paint doing floaters, bank shots. He's scoring in every way possible. I still kind of think, like, if we're talking about scoring, I'd probably say like Kevin Durant is the most unstoppable scorer. Just like from what I've seen over the years, like he's just incredible. But like all around game, Davis is like one of the best defenders in the NBA, second in defensive player of the year voting, all NBA first team for his offense. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, he's up there, and I think his numbers will catch up with the eye test. He does not shoot a good 3-point percentage. Last year, he was like 32, maybe 33. Yeah. Last year, Giannis made more 3-pointers than he did, but not at a better percentage. His on-off stats were not good last year. The Lakers were like a 500 team if he was on the floor without LeBron. But if LeBron was on the floor without him, the Lakers were like a top 10 team, an elite team. So you do have to think how much of playing alongside LeBron is accentuating his ability. And if defenses had to focus on him and collapse on him, rather than focusing on LeBron as the key playmaker, then we might have a slightly different story. But the guy's a prolific scorer, and when he's on, I think when he gets hot, I think he has the highest peak of anybody. When he like there were stretches in the bubble playoffs last year where he would go like 11 for 14. And when the guy is hot, he just doesn't miss. He's making turnaround fadeaways from the baseline at 18 feet. He's making threes from the wing, contested. He hit some big shots in the playoffs last year. He had an amazing buzzer beater to beat Denver and, pretty much swing that series definitively in the Lakers' favor. he's accomplished quite a bit. But is he the most unstoppable force in the NBA? He's not even the most unstoppable force on his own team. So I'll just leave it at that. That's my take.
The thing that's tough with him is, like, when he's the best player on the floor, like when LeBron's on the bench, the Lakers feel like they have to feature him because he's like clearly the best player, and so they go to him. But that's kind of when the offense sort of slows down and struggles a bit. Like they try to post him up too much, or they try to force him to get long shots, and it's not as efficient. If he plays within the offense, he is like definitely one of the best players. And I think that's true for a lot of guys. Like when they. Like the Sixers struggle when they try to feature Embiid as like their number one. Like, let's just go to Embiid and have him score every time. Like, it just doesn't work that way. It hasn't really worked historically. It only works for playmaking guys who can do a lot with the ball. Like Kawhi, Jordan, Durant, LeBron. Like guys that are tall, athletic, and can play make for themselves. Those are the ones that can dominate games more efficiently. It's tougher for the bigger guys because they sort of like need something to be set up for them a little bit more.
Yeah, it's true. I think like the way AD's career trajectory and like hobby trajectory as well is I think like we're seeing, it's not a perfect analogy. It's not even a great analogy, but I think we're seeing a little bit of foreshadowing of what will happen with him is what's happening with Kevin Durant, because Durant joined forces with the super team and won titles. And Davis has definitely done that as well. And I think he's going to get more titles with this super team, or there's a good reasonable likelihood of it happening. And then he will enter a new phase where maybe it will be in a Lakers uniform, maybe it'll be in a different uniform, but then he'll enter this next chapter that Kevin Durant has currently entered, where it's like, all right, now do it again, start from scratch and do it again, it's to say nothing else, it will be a very exciting career arc to follow, to kind of just see where he goes from here. And let's just be frank, Anthony Davis is going to get a lot of MVP votes this year. He's clearly a top 5 player, so there's no doubt about that. My only dispute is he like the most unstoppable force? I'm not ready to get there yet.
Yeah, he won't be as good as Durant is running his own team. Like we've seen that, obviously. We've seen Davis have his own team, and he's struggling to make the playoffs, and Durant, took the Thunder. Granted, the Thunder had more talent, but, Durant was competing for championships as the best player. So we know that Durant can, like, be the main guy and take the bulk of the shots and win basketball games. We're not sure about that with Davis. And that's really what the hobby rewards most of all.
Yeah. So that question is still an open one, and it will come. So SVA, the great Dave of SVA card collectors, says he bought Mikal Bridges and he likes what he sees out of Mikal Bridges. I just want to give a quick shout out to Mikal Bridges because he was terrific against the Mavericks, and he's that ideal 3-and-D guy that every team could use on the wing. Do you have any takes on Mikal Bridges?
I wasn't a fan when the Suns picked him as a fan of the Suns because he was like an older player. He's kind of like seemingly a lower ceiling, and he was just like a safer player. But he is like a very solid 3-and-D. I feel like we're kind of seeing like the ceiling of what he is. That's just my only criticism. But he's like fills his role very well. Really good defender, as we saw. He was doing a good job on Luka. Good shooter. I'm not sure that he's ever going to be much more than like your team's 4th best player and filling this role, which is fine. It's great. Probably just doesn't warrant like a lot of prospecting or frantic buying of his sports cards.
True. Okay. Blinding 90s says, how about Curry looking so terrible through 2 games? What do you think about Steph Curry getting blown out twice so far?
I mean, I could be pretty mean about this because I feel like I've put up with a lot of shit over the last like 7 years of like comparing him to LeBron, and I just feel like we're seeing the fruits of like how hard it is to actually lead a team without Hall of Famers all around you. And there's like very few guys that can actually do it, and I still think that's LeBron's greatest asset. It's always been that he could just take any team in the entire league and just get them to the finals. It's just it's insane. I don't know how he does that, and it's hard to do. It's just that's not just like a skill that you can just plop a guy on a team and take him to the finals. And we're seeing that with Curry. He needs more help, and like 99.999% of players need a lot more help, and he's struggling because the team isn't very good. Andrew Wiggins is not good. We know that he's been a bust as a number one pick. Wiseman's a rookie. They've got all these new pieces. They were counting on Klay Thompson. They don't have him. There's just a ton of chemistry issues on the team. Kelly Oubre is trying to like justify his role, and he's just like forcing it and taking terrible shots. It's just an awkward team, and he's sort of just like having to take the brunt of the blame because he's the face of the team, and it's really not fair to him. He's obviously a spectacular player, but I think what we're just seeing is that like he doesn't have the skill as like a mega superstar to take a team and just make them a perennial playoff finals contending team. And I think we just need to be realistic about that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair in light of everything. That's fair. He was not good with them when he was healthy last year either, nor was the team good. But that's a small sample size. He was injured for the majority of last year. The thing is, I think actually on paper, the Warriors have some talent, but they don't have a lot of depth. But they should not be getting blown out. Even against the Bucks and the Nets, they should not be getting blown out by 20-plus points. So they do. I think there's reason to be optimistic about them getting better. And the Warriors, the Bulls, there are lots of teams that are just like completely shuffled, whether it's the Bulls and a whole new coaching scheme or it's the Warriors and like a whole new roster. They're going to need time to iron things out. But these first two games have definitely thrown a cold blanket on Steph Curry's MVP this year. And it certainly does put into perspective that there are very, very few stars who can carry a team on their own. And, it's going to be pretty unlikely for Curry to do it. And even as a point guard, Curry's usage rate and ball dominance is just not the same as what we are accustomed to with superstars like Harden, LeBron, etc.
It's not his game.
Yeah.
It's not his game. And he's coming off of like basically an entire missed season, starting late. Like he hasn't played meaningful basketball in a year and a half. So, I mean, he's still like getting back in the swing of things and he's rusty. I don't know. That's again, like we're going to probably say this 100 times tonight, but it's been 2 games. Like the Warriors could easily turn this around and I wouldn't be surprised. Like they look bad right now, but it's been 2 fucking games and they haven't played even like a year.
Yeah. And I agree with the chat. Wiseman looks good. He definitely looks good. Oubre and Wiggins can play make. And they've got some, Draymond comes back and, they might have something there. But they maybe need some shooting. Okay. Sports Card Express writes in Kyrie Irving and how slept on he is because of his beliefs. Arguably a top 3 point guard. What do you think about Kyrie?
How many times do we have to see Kyrie? We already know what he is. We know what Kyrie is. He's a great number 2. And when he's with a superstar guy who can carry the load, he's amazing. He can do his own thing. He can score, play make, he can dribble, he can look amazing. But when he's made to be the main guy, he cannot do it. He breaks down, he gets injured, he whines, he doesn't like the pressure. When he's the number 2, he looks really, really good. Like, this isn't surprising at all. We've seen it like 20 times from him. I just like, we're trying to like make these guys, because of like where the hobby is going and having to justify all these card prices, we want to like make these players into certain things that they're not. Like, just watch the games. You know who these guys are. We've seen them for years.
Yeah. Let me say a couple things about the Nets. First of all, and to the point of Kyrie, like if he can be the number 2 and he legitimately respects the number 1, he flourishes. That's becoming apparent this year for sure. And the Boston example is a great example where there was no clear number one, and he just didn't really acclimate to that role. The thing about the Nets are the Clippers of the East. That's my take. The Nets have depth, impressive depth. They have the most players who have been starters on NBA teams who are, over the course of their entire roster as compared to any other team, and it's not even close. So they have legitimate starter quality guys on their bench. And when you just look at that roster, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jarrett Allen, Joe Harris, Jeff Green, like we're getting into Landry Shamet, very serviceable role player with playoff experience. We're getting to, an 8 to 9 man rotation that is, it's going to be formidable. And we've seen enough through a few games here, I think, to say like the Nets, either they are just they just got super hot, but I don't think that's it, because when I look at the box scores, I don't see anybody like overperforming what we would expect them to. I just think they've got something pretty good going on there. Do you have any takes on the Nets? And obviously there's big hobby implications for this, because Kevin Durant could write a really interesting chapter in his NBA legacy and in the hobby if the Nets get to the finals and even possibly win the finals. What do you think about the Nets trajectory?
They have Kevin Durant, so they're going to be really fucking good.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I really feel like we're overthinking all this stuff. Like, if you look at the teams, the teams that have won championships over the last 10 years, they're always led by LeBron, Durant, Kawhi, Curry. It's like some combination of those guys with whatever team makeup they have. But like, if you have that mega superstar guy, your team's always going to be really good. You're always going to have a chance. And you've got Kevin Durant on the team. He's a generational superstar talent. The Nets are going to be really good. The thing that worries me about the Nets, obviously, is more of their, I'll say, like, emotional state. But, when they're on. They're going to look really good on a lot of nights. They're going to score a ton of points. They'll probably go through some stretches where they struggle and teams figure them out on defense. But, yeah, they're going to be really good. And I agree, like, if the Nets do win a championship, like, it's going to really help Durant's legacy. I never really understood why his legacy was ever hindered. Obviously, he was on a good team, but, like, he was clearly the best player on that team. He won the 2 finals MVPs. He was the one going toe-to-toe with LeBron, hitting shots in his face and winning the series for them and stuff. So, to me, Durant's always been top 3 player in the NBA, and we're kind of seeing that now. And they've surrounded him with a lot of good talent that looks really good so far in 2 games. And Kyrie obviously is, again, he's probably like one of the best number 2 scorers you could possibly have. He's just like, he flourishes in this role. So like, they're going to look really good this year, and they're going to keep playing well.
Yeah. When beating the Celtics by 20 plus,
yeah.
There are not many teams in the NBA who could do that on any night. That was an eye opener for me. And they're doing it, and they're not like overly relying or overly taxing their top level talent either. Kyrie and KD in the game against the Warriors, they got off the floor after playing like 20 something minutes. If they can do that and keep their guys fresh too. Yeah. But there's so much uncertainty, man. Like you said, the interpersonal dynamic on that team. Let's see where that's at after half of a season. Right. And injuries, man. KD is coming off an Achilles, and Kyrie always hurt. Yeah, exactly. And that's something too. It's just I think we have a lot of people in the hobby who may have watched sports for a long time, but maybe have not watched sports and collected / prospected / invested in cards at the same time. And it's, you'll never forget what we all know as seasoned sports fans. These are long seasons. They're unpredictable seasons. It's best to not overreact to things, which leads me to Drake's Sports PC. He had a question on this topic. He said, will the reactionary buying / price spikes settle down as the NBA season unfolds, or do you expect it to continue?
Oh, it'll definitely settle down. It happened when it like settled down, and then some in football. It happens every year in basketball. Like when the bubble actually started, prices settled down. The same thing will happen. People are just really excited right now. They're excited that like a lot of their guys are exceeding expectations. But everyone's gonna have their down parts of the season. It's a long year. People will settle down and they'll move on. So, like the thing that makes me laugh is that like everyone's all super excited to buy a lot of these guys, and it's like, if you really like those guys, why are you buying them now? Why didn't you buy them in the offseason if you like knew this was going to happen? Why aren't you flaunting in the offseason about how smart you were? It's like you start buying after they're dominating. Like you really needed to see it to know that they're good. It seems silly to me. Like pick the guys you like, buy them at the times that make the most sense financially for you, whether that's during the offseason or when they're in a down spurt. Stick with them, have strong hands, hold the players you believe in, and I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, let me circle back to something real quick. What you just said inspired this. Okay, so we were talking about what could possibly happen for Durant if the Nets win a championship, but as you properly point out, it's very difficult to win an NBA championship. Only one team gets to do it every year. As we know, as we knew last year, and as we talked going into the bubble, that these teams are going to drop like flies, and the energy is going to be gone from these teams. And sure enough, there's still a number of cards that set their all-time high on August 11th, which was like the week before the bubble playoffs began. Like Anthony Davis, even his cards, he freaking won, and even his cards have not returned to their pre-bubble all-time highs. But nonetheless, here's what I want to talk about. Kawhi had that narrative going into the bubble last year in the hobby where people were saying, hey, Kawhi can be the first one to get the 3 finals MVPs on the 3 different teams. Right. And Kawhi can elevate his status in the basketball canon by, winning here, and they can build a legacy in Los Angeles with the Clippers, and they can, bring prestige upon the Clippers brand, and they got a great coach who's already won a title, and like a whole groundswell of enthusiasm built up for Kawhi, who, by the way, had a terrific performance for the vast majority of his games in the bubble. He was just phenomenal, and on a loaded team, albeit with, Paul George and Harrell sort of like out of it and not playing at their best. But they lost to the Nuggets after being up 3-1 in the second round, and I see a lot of the similarities potentially here to, that's why I say the Nets are like the Clippers of the East. They got this loaded team. It hasn't been together very long. It's got, former player as a coach who's there to be a personality manager as a primary function. And, could the Nets theoretically lose to, what like the Celtics maybe are the Nuggets of the East? Could we see them losing to the Celtics in 7 in round 2? So all I'm saying is this, I think we have a nice precedent for what could go wrong, building up a guy before he accomplishes something. I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. For people getting very high on KD, just know that something very similar happened with Kawhi last year, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, totally. I mean, before Kawhi could do no wrong, people were comparing him to Jordan in the playoffs, and after 2 bad games, he's a bum. So it's like, he's clearly like neither of those things. So it's just sort of like the like, you have to be exploding in price, amazing next generation talent, or you're a bum. And there's like seemingly no in between with a lot of people in the hobby, and it's frustrating. Like I just go back to like looking at the whole body of work of a player, and like, how does it look, at checkpoints in their career, and how are they developing and growing? And you have to like set expectations with each player. Someone commented that Kobe prices haven't exploded yet. I don't know what your definition of exploding is, but like 5,000%, 3,000%, 3,000% in the last year of growth. These are like astronomical explosion rates. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Yeah. Kobe has we have 6,500 cards now in the card ladder database, and a lot of those are some of the most iconic cards in the hobby. Kobe's Kaboom Raw, the last time I looked, was over the last year, was the largest percentage gain of any card, his Kaboom Raw. I think it was the 2012 one. Like Kobe cards.
He gets plenty of respect. Plenty.
Kobe, man, you could make a strong argument, had the most pronounced, the steepest growth curve in the hobby. You could make an argument that it was Kobe this year.
Sure.
So
sure.
And some the GOATs, man. There's no content creators out there who are talking about the growth charts of GOATs. Nobody's out there talking about that. We are. But Mudman Sports Cards, great account on Instagram, very smart analyzer of data. He published something to his Instagram page maybe a few days ago that showed that the LeBron Topps Chrome experienced a larger percentage growth over the last year than the Luka Prism Base did. And that's a very heartening sign to me.
Fascinating.
Yes.
It's like, so the most interesting thing about that piece of data that you just pointed out is that one of the narratives that I hear is like, I need to buy these, like, I need to prospect and I need to buy these guys because they have the greatest potential to grow the most, right? Like you're taking the home run shot. When you just laid out a piece of data that's like you could have picked literally the safest player in the entire league and made more money still.
Right.
Like, why? It's like you overthink the hell out of it. You absolutely hit a grand slam with Luka. Could not go any better, and you still are not outperforming the safest player in the league.
Yep. No, I know. And like, so I have one foot in the Jordan world and the other foot in the Luka world, and there's just both of those markets have just been really hot because it's not even the market for the players that drives it. It's the market for sports cards that's driving that stuff.
Yes. That's what I said on that show, the Surface show. The question posed to us was like, who's the most underrated player in sports cards? And I said Michael Jordan, because I'm not betting on, I don't like prospecting and betting on individual players. That's risky. What I'm betting on is the hobby, and the hobby growth is really the main storyline. That's the headline, is the actual overall hobby growth. And if we continue to see those trends with people doing alternate investments into the hobby, and we see more people getting excited about it, putting a big chunk of their money into this, where do you think they're going to put it? In Michael Jordan. So, like, if we actually are going to say that the hobby itself is underrated, then I'm just going to go straight to the top and say Michael Jordan. And actually, this is funny because, like, people are pinning hype and prospecting on Gary Vee right now. Someone asked him a question on his, he's like doing this, answer Q&A thing, and he's recording it. And the question was like, who are the three most underrated players in the hobby? And he said, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Michael Jordan. So he's saying exactly what we're saying too, which is like, you guys are overthinking this. The hobby is underrated. Just invest in the guys who are the safest. If that's your goal.
What a great arc to follow too. Gary Vee is clearly a very intelligent person, and he's been now navigating the hobby for several years, and he's gone through similar arcs to many of us, where he opened up by spotting successfully undervalued prospects. He opened up, Giannis prison-based PSA 10s, Luka prison-based PSA 10s, De'Aaron Fox prison-based PSA 10s. Like, I remember he was all over that stuff. And then he went into more esoteric cards, wrestling cards, oddball cards that he just loves. He just loves that stuff. And it clearly, like, collecting stuff like that satiates his intellectual curiosity that he has about collecting and about the hobby, and like the joys that like going down some of those rabbit holes brings. And then he went into vintage, and he, was talking about Hakeem Olajuwon rookies. Like, I've heard everybody from him to Dr. James Beckett talk about how Hakeem is undervalued, and like they were right. Hakeem's 86 Fleer PSA 10 is now a $10,000 card. I mean, that's almost that was like unthinkable a year ago. And then Gary pivoted into inserts and Kaboom and spotting really fun cards like that. He got into Shaquille O'Neal rookies, Beam Team. I think like him getting into Beam Team really kind of like opened his eyes perhaps, or made him like look more carefully at inserts and how fun inserts are. And, now and he was huge on LeBron Topps Chrome rookies way before those were at the current $15,000 level that they're at now. Like he's been ahead of many curves that the hobby has experienced, or he's been ahead of the curve on many things the hobby has experienced. And now, what's he saying now? He's picked a solid Hall of Famer as his quote unquote prospect, and that's Kevin Durant. And then he's also saying LeBron and Jordan. Like, I mean, isn't that kind of where we all end up at? I don't know.
Yeah, totally. And like as the prospects drop off and people lose faith and bail, they just take that money and put it into one of those other guys.
Let's talk about this for a second. Got a number of questions on this, and I don't know, this whole thing has me feeling pensive. CC Card says, looking back on 2020, what was your favorite card you added this year? Card Shop Dad says, what's your biggest hobby regret and joy of 2020? And Vintage Cards, Midwest Vintage Cards says, what are your goals for 2021? So I kind of group all those together. What's your favorite thing of 2021? Regrets, goals, anything that comes in mind. Let's talk about this for a little while.
I got a lot of like cool new cards. I'm excited about in 2020. Regrets? I don't want to like be a overly optimistic person. I don't really have that many regrets. This is probably my favorite card that I added. I love this card, dude.
Yeah, talk about this card. That card has a great story behind it too.
Yeah, it was like I don't know. I've always liked it. I thought it looked cool, and I found a guy on Instagram that had one, and I messaged him, and he wanted something. He wanted like some crazy cards, and I was like, geez. So like I went on like a mad hunt to find that for him, so that he would need the cash for those, so he can sell this to me, and it ended up being like a really complicated 3-way deal, but I got this done, and I don't know. And then I sent it off to get graded. I just like it. I just always thought it was a cool card, so that's always one that I'm really proud of to get. I don't really have any regrets. I'm trying to think. I'm not trying to like sound like a douchebag, but I'm trying to think of like, I try not to like do things.
I'll give a feel good regret. I regret not buying more cards.
Yeah, that's pretty much what that's the answer.
Dude, I was looking though, like that's like always true. That's perennially true. Maybe we could talk a little bit about like 2021 is poised to be 2020 on steroids in some ways in the hobby. I think some huge things are going to happen. But 2020, I was looking at my eBay purchase history. It was pathetic. It was like 20 Luka NBA City Hollows and like Jordan one of a kind. That was probably the best card I bought. And like these just like scattered little cards and like some boxes and like a lot of supplies.
I want to hear about that. It's like we're like the most optimistic people about the hobby, and this is like the most optimistic year. Why didn't you buy more stuff?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was partially circumstances and, a lingering paralysis from that feeling when COVID first hit.
Yeah.
But or maybe a growing skepticism of the sustainability of where prices went and seeing the roller coaster that we've been on from August until now.
Yeah.
I think like that stuff all factors in, but like I look at even in absolute dollars, I spent probably like half or less in 2020 that I spent in 2019 and in 2018 for sure.
Recouping your money.
Yeah, I guess. But as I looked at it, I was like, man, this is pathetic. Like, this is all I got. Like, I should have been going way harder in 2020. But I guess like one thing was like I was looking a lot at like Luka cards a lot, and that market got too expensive, so there was just nothing to buy. And then I was looking at Jordan a lot, obviously, but Jordan had The Last Dance, and I was of the belief that The Last Dance would be the peak for like a long time, and so I was just sitting back and waiting for prices to come down, but they didn't. They just didn't. The hobby just got crazier and crazier. So, I mean, that's my reasoning, but that's one thing I learned this year for sure is that I was too bearish on MJ, and even when a player has like a huge moment, their cards go crazy and then they come back down again.
Right.
I mean, I made that mistake twice. I also thought when Kobe's cards peaked in early February, I thought that there was no way they would get back to those peaks anytime soon because they're just an outpouring of emotion and support for Kobe at that time. And Kobe's probably 5x what his cards were selling for in early February. So, like, I've learned that lesson twice now. Is that, like, just because a player has this moment where the hobby just absolutely rally rounds and celebrates them and they hit these peaks, like, there's no – if it's organic passion that collectors have for a player, that's not going to be the last peak.
Right. Plus, you went through law school. You went to a full-time gig where you're not getting paid a regular salary. Like, you've got some other, like, pretty decent reasons.
Yeah, that's true, but it's still uncharacteristic of me to not just spend every penny.
Plus, Christina cut his card budget. So.
Yeah, and Christina dropped the axe on me, so.
Dude, I do not have that regret. I went, as Card Boss said, I went balls deep in 2020, dude. I bought so many fucking sports cards in 2020. It's like obnoxious. I bought six-figure card. Like, it's obnoxious how much money I spent. I don't even, like, my accountant's gonna be like, what in the fuck, dude? You are a psycho. Like, I bought like so many Mahomes cards, so many Lamar Jackson. I've got piles of Zion and Kevin Durant and LeBron cards up the butt, and oh my god, dude, I bought so many cards. It's like I haven't bought much in the last 2 months because it's just like I'm just like overflowing with sports cards.
That dude, you did it right. That's been the right answer every year since I've been back in the hobby. Just get the best cards you can get your hands on as soon as you can.
Just keep buying more. It's like. I want to be like the realist. It's like, dude, this is going to come down eventually. But like, it's been 4 straight years of just every time I buy it, just like stuff just keeps going more and more crazy. We're to the point now where I'm just like, man, this is getting crazy. We keep saying it. I don't know when it's going to stop. I keep seeing Luka fast break cards numbered 175 going for the same as a brand new Honda Civic. I don't know.
Oh, the Honda Civic. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about 2021. Do you have any goals for 2021?
Yeah, I mean, most of mine are card ladder related. I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that. Card related. Kind of just keep doing my thing. Honestly, like I'll just keep kind of buying and selling stuff that I see that I think is good, and then periodically trying to add that random PC card that sticks with me that I sort of like, end of the road card or whatever I've dubbed it. Kind of the same pattern. It's getting harder and harder to find those things, though, to be honest with you. And I think the biggest goal for 2021 for me is to continue to try to grow the hobby. Whatever I can do to help educate people or put in a good word at these, these bigger companies that are trying to latch on to the idea now. The ESPNs of the world and big media companies that want to get their piece of it. Just keep trying to be the voice and face of the hobby as much as I can and sing its praises.
Yeah. By all accounts, looking at everything from a $700 million acquisition of Collectors Universe to, and even if it's not acquired, but I don't know why it wouldn't be, but even if it is, the fact that an offer of that size was made, and looking at all the way down to Kevin Durant and AJ Vaynerchuk putting over $1 million into star stock, running that gamut, the fruits of that, especially the PSA thing, Collection Universe thing, the fruits of that definitely are not going to be received for years, for absolute years. 2020 in a lot of ways was a year of flag planting and of planning and beginnings and preparation.
Yes.
So I just think projecting outward from what's, in the public knowledge, deals like that, man, you have to look at 2021 and think, irrespective of so the hobby has been very organically driven, up until now. And, like Panini doesn't run ads during NBA games, and, PSA doesn't either. And, eBay is not, I saw commercials for shoes on eBay during football today. I didn't see any for sports cards. So in a lot of ways, there's just been no institutional support for sports cards. It's just like all organic demand. And I think we might start seeing more institutional level support and people like deliberately trying to guide this bull rather than just letting it run wild. And like, I just think you have to look out 1, 2, 3, 4 years. I'm not always the optimist. I'm not, but given everything we've seen in 2020, especially in Q4, I'm extremely optimistic about 2021 going forward. So, my goal is just pick my spots, get those cards that I love, and try and get them as fast as I can.
And looking back on 2020 in a world and hobby filled with unpromised deliverables, I feel like we, pat ourselves in the back, did a pretty awesome job with Card Ladder, and I'm extremely proud of, what we've done, our team, and really delivering and not talking about it. Like I'm big on like not talking about it and doing things, and we're gonna keep doing that. I'm really excited with what we've done in like less than 6 months. So I guess we're over 6 months now, officially. But I'm excited about that still.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we Card Ladder Q1 of 2021 has a lot of stuff happening with Card Ladder. You guys will see as it unfolds. But we got some.
I'll be releasing too many things.
Right. I know.
Like, oh crap, we forgot about the merch and the app and the we'll get it all out. It'll all be very organized, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's coming. All right, so it looks like we got about 10 minutes here to get a few more questions in. I'll save that one for hour 2. From Venezuelan League Stickers, this is a specific but fun question. What is the most overrated 90s insert? What is the most? He also asked, "What's the most undervalued?" So what's the most overrated and the most underrated 90s insert? And I as soon as I saw this question, I thought about you and Noise Boys, but I don't know if you want that to be your choice or not. But what's the most overrated 90s insert?
I think it's Playmaker Theaters. Noise Boys is close. Playmaker Theater is like not a good looking card. I'm sorry for all the people that love Playmaker Theater. I was so excited to get one of those, and I got it in hand, and I was just like, can I do like, what's the eBay rule or something here? Can I return this? Like, this is not what I thought it was. Do you have a overrated one?
Well, let me see. So what I started doing was I just started going through. I just went to Card Ladder, put in Michael Jordan because I know he's in a lot of inserts. I'm just like plowing through these to see which one of these strikes me as too highly priced. Let's see here.
Prism Jewel cards are so obnoxious. Everyone keeps pumping those.
I'd love to throw that, and I just that those aren't 90s inserts. But I think the Nike promo and the Prism Jewel inserts are probably a little bit overrated because they're just kind of like they're being there's an unnatural amount of energy around them because they're new to people. Like people are like discovering them.
Right.
Then there's the Interlake too, the oversized Interlake. That one hasn't. Oh, what do I think is overvalued here? Maybe this one.
Dunkin' Donuts, yeah.
This is at over 10 grand for a PSA 10. Pop 52. Like among Jordan collectors, that's considered a high population, but I just don't think you can call that high pop anymore.
Right.
I don't know. Sorry, David. I don't know. People are gonna hate me for that take because Jordan collectors love Dunkin' Donuts, and nothing I say is gonna stop that card from continuing to go up. So don't worry about that. But I've never owned it. It's one of the few inserts I've never owned. So maybe that's the problem here. But I just feel like it's pretty common to be $10,000.
Is the Ultra Stars gold an insert? It is, right? It's like a parallel insert.
Yep.
That one, I don't want to call that underrated because it's super expensive, but that's just like a sick looking card. When you get it in hand, those Ultra Stars gold are just really nice looking. Noise Boys is overrated. I never understood that. Those cards are like flimsy and super overpriced. I've always liked Lynchpins. I thought Lynchpins was kind of
yeah. No, Lynchpins is a sweet card. But a BGS 9 just did 13 grand for Jordan.
Yeah. Something's underrated. This Thrill Seekers, these are really cool. What is it? The lenticular pattern? They're cool. And they're like really, really thick. They're almost like they're not even like, paper cardstock. They're almost like plastic. They're kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Have you had that one before?
Yeah, well, I have not had the Jordan, but Christina and I bought like 20 loose packs of 96, 97 Fleer from Burbank Sports Cards, and we pulled the Iverson out of them. So I've had the Iverson. I have an undervalued one. I had to scroll way down to get to this one.
That's it.
I've also never owned this card, and I don't even think it looks that cool. But I know people like
the ones with where it's like the little packets that you pull out.
Yeah, this one comes with a sleeve.
Yeah.
The exclamation points. It's a Pop 11 BGS 9.5.
Wow.
And I bet the PSA 10 pop is really low as well. I don't know. Do I have? Yep, we do have PSA 10. The PSA 10 pop is 8. So that's like a really, really rare one. Trying to predict these has been freaking futile because like the PSA 10 just go crazy. That predict value is wrong. But the BGS 9.5, but the thing about predicted values on a Jordan insert, those are going to be very difficult, but we'll still leave it up there if it like at least tells you that it's more than the last comp. At least that's helpful. But you should always look at the math and the methodology used to get the prediction because like that one's just using the raw, which is very difficult to do. But okay, this card Pop 11, and it just sold. So it's not like I'm looking at an old comp. This card sold on the 25th of December for $4,200. Okay, yesterday. So like it's recently sold for like quite low. So it sells for lower than this card,
right?
Which is a beautiful card, but it's Pop 43. Anyway, that would be my choice.
And there's still value in some of these like '90s Jordan cards, at least relative to $4,400 Ja Morant Prism Silver. It's like, would you rather have a Pop 11 Michael Jordan insert from the '90s or a Prism Silver Ja Morant? It seems insane to me. Like, you could say Jordan cards are overpriced, but like, you can't also then be like, oh, fucking Michael Porter Jr. is underrated and like his price, whatever. Like, I would just rather see more diversity in buying on like the safe players and like the collecting of those guys than the prospecting. But that's just, me being a get off my lawn Grinch, I guess.
Yeah. Shay says Michael Jordan Hot Shots is overrated. Dude, this is the most polarizing insert series for sure.
Dude, I love those cards, man.
Yeah.
Those are cool.
Some people love those. Some people hate those. People have
What
pointed
is-
out that like Jordan has like alien long fingers.
What is more 90s than a flaming fireball on a basketball? I think Intimidation Nation is a pretty goofy looking card. I never really liked those. Speaking of fire, there's a lot of cool inserts, and I think you can still get 9.5s of a lot of these really like rare inserts of Jordan. I don't.
Oh, dude,
Please,
not
please don't take this as like. Please don't take this as like Jordan cards are underpriced, but like, I don't know. When I see what's happening with Prism Silver PSA 10s of every schmuck who scores 40 points, it seems silly to me. I don't know. I would just like. I'd be very seriously putting in more effort and attention to researching these older sets and understanding the population reports and how collectors view them and like how their hierarchy goes, relative to each other for all these like serious collectors, more than I would be trying to figure out who's the next, superstar guy that we're just gambling on. That's just like a little tip or whatever for people that are maybe struggling to figure out what to buy.
Dude, totally. And you talk about 9.5s. Like, let me make this point using perhaps a different language. So this is a really fascinating thing to look at. So blue, let me put this to linear rather than logarithmic. That didn't really. I'll do that when we look at the end. So blue is the Kevin Durant Refractor PSA 10 Chrome, and red is the 9.5, same card. And you can see that like they closely mapped, and even the 9.5, leapt ahead. In some instances, is more pricey. Like right there, man. In the 2019s, they were close. They were close. And you can see clearly that the 9.5 is having these fluctuations because of subgrades. Then we get to recently, and we're on a logarithmic scale, but you can see that the gap increases. But let's go to an absolute dollar scale.
Yeah, what the heck?
So the PSA 10 last sold for $24,000, and the BGS 9.5 last sold for $7,500.
I was talking to Cardi C about this. He was doing some study, some like research into this, and he was showing that like on average a PSA 10 would outpace a 9.5 like a year or two ago at like 1.3x, and more recently it's like 2x, and there's like cards like that are like 2.5x. Why do you think that's happening? Is that just like the investor mindset of just having to have the best, and it's just driving those prices up, or like what's going on?
Well, I don't know. One theory that I would not rule out, but I don't know is correct, is that I think a trend that we're seeing in the hobby is that there's many new people, and new people require simplicity. And
yes,
the simple answer is that the PSA 10 is the card to obtain. And that's the simple answer. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy as more new people come in and more new people subscribe to it. But I think what you also see, I think people who like sports cars and get into it are, pretty smart people by nature. And they're also like people who go down rabbit holes and just enjoy things like collecting, things like investing. So they just get deeper and deeper and deeper into stuff. And eventually, I think people broaden their horizons. They get bored with just one thing, whether it's just one card, one product, one player, or one grading company. And I think somebody is going to look and say the PSA 10 of Kevin Durant is $25,000, and the BGS 9.5, which is called a gem mint as well, and is respected as having equally difficult graders to PSA on the whole, is $7,500. Okay, so let me just do some quick math here. 25,000 divided by 7,500 is 3.3x. So like literally,
that's not right.
And I just think people are going to look at that and they're going to say, I can get a gem mint copy of this card that's probably, got a pretty good shot to cross. Maybe it won't cross. Maybe it will. But it's a PGS 9.5. It's a gem mint. Especially with like good subs, quad 9.5 subs. Hey, I could get that card for like less than 10 grand. I just think over time people will expand their horizons. And if, or maybe not, maybe it's just my own bias. That's the other side of the thing. Maybe I'm just sitting here looking at it because I'll tell you this: if I wanted that card, I would buy 3 BGS 9.5s before I bought one PSA 10 without hesitation.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. I think is that you as a collector think that way. The issue is that this isn't collectors that are buying these PSA 10s at these prices, and in a large majority of cases, because if you look at those two cards and you say to yourself, which one do I buy at these prices? An investor says, well, I'll just buy the PSA 10. It's going to keep going up. That's the one that's going up more. That's clearly what people want, buy the PSA 10. Whereas a collector says, dude, I can get 3 of them? Oh, my gosh.
Right.
As a collector and a hoarder and someone who loves Kevin Durant, I want 3 of those cards. I don't want 1 of the PSA 10. I want 3. So, like, what's happening, it's not the collectors that are the ones buying the PSA 10s and inflating the ratios. That's kind of like this sad reality that we have to give into is PSA 10. PSA 10 is the investor card, and BGS 9.5 is the collector card. Maybe that's sort of like the label we can put on it. But you're right, it's frustrating because you and I think about it similarly. Man, I would love to have that card. I'd just buy a BGS 9.5, and I got 15 grand left over to buy a bunch of other cool shit.
You're right. Yeah, good point. All right, I think we're at our hour.
All right, I'll see you in a minute here.
All right, buddy.
I do whatever sports.
Oh, that's the right answer right there.
That's the answer. There you go. He tells me to buy a PSA 10.
We will be back. We will be back for hour 2 overtime in just a minute.
What's up, Jurgen? What's up? KMC, what's going on, man?
What's up? You know what? I need to turn these lights on. Hold on.
I don't look at the comments at all in hour 1 because I'm focused on like what we're looking at. So now I get to catch up with all you guys. So how's everyone doing? Hit up the comments tonight. I'll be keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, let's go with some comments, guys. Hour
What's
1
going
is pretty
on?
good.
I know all your hour 2 questions are just Trae Young, so why don't you just hit me with one and get it over with?
Dude, would you believe it if I told you that there was not one question on Trae Young?
I would not believe you.
Not one question. Not a single question on Trae Young. There was one. No, there's just nothing. There's nothing even alluding to it except for the question about spikes and stuff. So what do you make of that? Going into the season, a million questions about Trae Young. Now we're actually playing and nobody cares. No, that's an overstatement. But what do you think?
I'm not sure. That seems like an anomaly, to be honest with you. Like the chatter about him seems pretty high right now, as it should be.
Dude, chatter about him is insane. I'm about to ban half of the people in the Luka chat if they keep talking about Trae Young.
Dude, he looked really good. I watched that whole game because I feel like if I'm going to be talking shit about Trae Young, I should watch more of his games. And someone pointed out to me, so I have been. He's very good. He's a very good ball handler, great shooter, amazing passer. He's got great vision. He's hitting people on the way to the basket, leading them very well. Pretty bad defender. He's not in the right spots. He's just too small to be I just don't ever see him realistically. I just don't ever see him being like the top player on the championship team, and that's obviously no knock because that's just like the peak. But great player. His card prices are way too high.
And they
But he
played
has
two non-playoff teams, so I'm not excited yet.
Yeah, no doubt. Yes, Rodman, this is hour 2, bro. We missed you in hour 1, man. So here's the thing. Last year, going into the season, the Hawks started 3-1, 2-1. Trae Young had 2 very big games at the beginning of the season. And his his cards and Luka's cards were pretty much the same price.
I remember that.
Pretty much the same price. Then Trae Young rolled his ankle and missed a week. John Collins was suspended. And before you know it, the Hawks win like 25 games. So cautionary tale is always and here's the thing. All right, let me preach for a second. There are people in the hobby who look forward to taking advantage of the naivete of others by overemphasizing an unduly small sample size that is unrepresentative of what's going to happen in order to pump and dump cards.
Yes.
I see it happen in group chats. I see it happen on Instagram stories. Yes, we have a live. That's your Christina. We have a live audience member here. So that's all I want to say about that is you have to use your own wisdom and your own judgment as a seasoned sports fan, as a collector, to not let yourself get caught up into the web of hype that some people intentionally create.
Yes. I've seen people trying to validate his entire being with 2 games so far. I'm just like, man, that's a bold move there. People are gonna be eating some words if he doesn't get the 2 seed.
Yeah, Cade Floyer, the great Cade Floyer of Lucas, Tigers, and LeBrons, says, "What's the pump and dump now for folks to look out for?" John Morant. Yeah, go ahead, take that one, man.
It's John Morant, dude. That's crazy. They lost, and you said his price went up 25% after 1 game, which they lost because he had 44. Dude, he's the best player on the team. Brandon Clark's coming off an injury. Jaren Jackson is benched. Someone's got to score the damn ball, so might as well just give John Morant, let him score a bunch of points. Doesn't even matter. They're gonna lose. He's being overly hyped right now. I think Zion's being pump and dumped a little bit right now. But dude, it's just so unfair because those are 2 young Booker, big time Booker. Oh my gosh, stop with the Booker pump and dump. Oh my gosh. Again, all 3 of these guys that I just said are amazing players, and I wish that I could just watch them play and not have to be critical of them. I feel like I'm being critical of these guys because of how upset I am at the pumping and dumping of them and the unrealistic expectations that we're putting on them because of their card prices. I wish I could just watch them flourish and grow over many years like I do other players. I said this to you last night, and you added some players to the list as well, but Jordan, LeBron, Durant, Kawhi, Giannis, these guys are 7-8 years into their careers before they started really succeeding, and Giannis still hasn't made the finals. So to try to put these guys into that tier in their 3rd year, 2nd year, 4th year even, before we know who they are, before they know who they are, they're still kids. They're still growing. They're getting stronger and taller, and just, I don't know, it's just frustrating. I get it. There's a lot of money, and it's really easy to make a quick buck and pump and dump a guy and ride the wave and stuff. I get all that. So I understand people wanting to make money. It's just, it's frustrating. Just because we're so in the hobby, we're just so ingrained that that's what we get fed, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's true. There's just in addition to the specifics you gave, which are right. Yeah. So should I not buy a ton of Terry Rozier after 1 game? That's the thing. That's what I think about as well. Is that, well, wait a minute. We had 1 game. Scary Terry went off for 40 plus. He was 10 of 16 from 3. Why aren't his cards going up 25%? It's the same sample size as others that we've seen. So I understand that there's the potential in guys like Morant and where Scary Terry is much more of a known commodity. I get that. But it would be an equally absurd overreaction in either case because, irrespective of potential, dude, I remember in the 90s I followed the Rockford Lightning, the CBA team, not the NBA team. And they had one guy get called up to the NBA, Sam Mack. He was my favorite player, and then he went to my favorite team, the Houston Rockets. And he had one game with the Houston Rockets where he scored 32 points. Anybody can come into the NBA who has that basketball talent level, and they can go off for a game or two. Anybody can. So that's why – but this is something that's known to people who think in terms of statistics or who think in terms of science, is that you need sample sizes. You cannot just go off of 1 or 2 games. If we were to project off of 1 or 2 games, the Atlanta Hawks are going to go 72-0. They're 2-0. Multiply that by 36, the length of the season, but we don't extrapolate in that fashion.
The Mavs are 0-2, so Luke is fat and terrible now. Did you hear that?
The Mavs are going to be 0-72 this year.
The Mavs played who did they play in there? Oh, the Suns. And the Lakers, and the Hawks played the Bulls and the Grizzlies. So some pretty big gap in matchups there. So like obviously, we can't overreact to that. There's a lot of promising young players that I've seen play this year that I'm excited about. Like the Kings looked good so far. The Timberwolves, people have pointed out. I still really like Karl-Anthony Towns. I think he's a good player. He's got some. Dude, he just is like going through a really tough time with his mom. I don't know if you saw that interview. That was heartbreaking. Did you see that?
Yes.
He's basically like, I have no soul anymore.
Yeah, he lost his mom. He lost like 5 other family members too.
Heartbreaking stuff. I don't know. It's 2 games. I don't know. Let's just keep. I'm just glad there's basketball, dude. My son made me like a basketball is back drawing Christmas present. He's like, Daddy, I know how much you love basketball, and I know how happy you are. So it just was like a really nice reminder that like, let's just enjoy the games,
Dude, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Dude, I've been so much happier since the NBA came back, and I watched Luka and the Mavs get their asses kicked twice. I'm just so much happier that the NBA is back.
You'd rather watch the Mavs get their asses kicked than not watch basketball.
Totally. It's so much fun, man. I love having the NBA back. I love it.
You just gotta like not look at card accounts hyping cards and players and just watch the games. It's more pure that way.
It is, dude. And let's just let me just say this too. I understand that people see opportunities to make money in short term playing on prospects, but if we want to be realistic in our appraisal of the possibility of a prospect becoming a GOAT, like you were saying, dude, Jordan didn't win his first title till age 28. I mean, these are things that have to be seriously thought about. It is so hard to win an NBA title. It is so hard. It's so unlikely. And it takes a long time before NBA players reach their peak in their prime. And then you need the good fortune of health and getting on the right team and lots of things breaking your way. I think about Kawhi's title in Toronto, when that ball bounced 4 times on the rim before going in so that they could defeat the Philadelphia 76ers in 7 games in order to proceed to play the Bucks, who then went up 2-0 on Toronto in the conference finals, only for Toronto to come back. And then Toronto has the biggest break of all, quite literally a break, which was Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant missing the finals. And the Warriors still were relatively competitive for some of those games. So think about all the stuff that had to break his way. Just know that prospects are gambles in a number of ways, that it's many of which are out of their control.
Yeah, and I just keep going back to sample size. Like I go off of what I see over and over and over. When I see someone do the same thing 10 years in a row. I'm just like, all right, it's like, and people have asked me now. Someone asked, like, do I have Giannis rookies? I do. I've seen enough of a sample size of Giannis to know that he's really fucking good. And people are wanting to put their money in guys who are not as established as Giannis. So, like, I'll just, like, the market cap of Giannis rookie cards is lower than Luka, Trey, and Zion. So, like, I'm going to buy Giannis instead. Because there's enough sample size of Giannis now where I'm flipping over to say, I believe in Giannis, and, I don't think he was a little bit too hyped for me a couple of years ago, and I was defensive of LeBron and trying to compare Giannis to him. But now I'm more on the side of like, okay, I've seen enough. It's been two more years of it, 2 MVPs, the best single like overall PER season of all time. Like, I mean, what else? I mean, that's a lot of data. I've seen a lot. He's obviously struggling in the playoffs. But, he's shown enough of a growth over his career so far that there's no reason that he can't get over the hump, just like LeBron, just like Durant, just like Jordan. Eventually got over the hump and figured it out. I think he'll eventually figure it out too.
And guess what? I love that take. And guess what? Look, Giannis prison-based PSA 10 is about $4,300 right now. That's off of a peak of $7,300 on that infamous August 11th, the day of record highs. People were buying it for $4,000 in late July. They were even spending up to $4,000 in mid-July. So, look, we're 5 months removed from mid-July, and the card can still be had at the same price. And it's gone on the roller coaster that went on. It got up to $7,300. So there, FOMO can be a strong thing in this hobby, but you can pick your spots even with great players. You can pick your spots and get in, but it all comes from a strategic mindset of not being somebody who's chasing trends and just, who's hot player now? That's the card I want. Instead of saying, okay, I've seen Giannis play in the NBA for 7 years, and now I'd like to get some of his cards. And so therefore I'm going to wait for the right moment, the right offseason. Or if Giannis wins it all, that's going to be another buying opportunity for Giannis. That's one of the great counter-intuitions of the hobby, is that when a player wins it all, the demand increases, but the supply increases even more because everybody thinks it's the right time to sell. So I want to talk about that too a little bit. It's just like, even a guy like Giannis, some people think the boat has sailed or whatever, but really it hasn't, because there's always opportunities and ebbs and flows.
Totally. And yes, someone pointed out that, like, in order to sustain prices, he's eventually going to have to win. That's true. Same was said. The same narrative was said of LeBron, Durant, Jordan. I'm not comparing Giannis to those guys, and his prices don't reflect those guys as they shouldn't. And I'm not, like, putting my whole 401k into Giannis. It's just sort of like, based on what I see from these other guys, I feel safer in Giannis than I do, Luka, Trey, Zion at their relative prices.
Definitely. James Harden. I didn't watch the game, obviously. We've been on live, but David says he had 35 and 15. In a group chat today, a number of us were talking about James Harden prices, James Harden in the hobby. What do you think about James Harden in the hobby? Do you have any thoughts on this?
I think he's properly priced. I mean, we know what he is. It's been a long time. We know he's, most likely not going to win a championship as the top player, which is, sort of like remove the prospect nature of it. We just sort of like, what he is. And he's proven to be an extremely high volume player, so he's going to get his stats. And he's just like not a very well-liked player in the hobby. I think it's a little bit a mixture of his style, his like general outlook on things, and, how he assesses the situation, and like how he's handled this recent thing with the trade demands and showing up out of shape and strip club stuff. It's just sort of like there's just enough evidence to kind of show like he's not exactly like deserving of a lot of hobby love.
Yeah, and he's not exactly cheap either. Okay, his National Treasures RPA PSA 10 is last sold for 26.6K, basically $27,000, and that was in June. So that's a pop 6, his NTRPA. So that's not exactly a cheap card.
I mean, that's like a $500,000 card for Luka, so it's not exactly like.
Yeah, it would be a little bit more nowadays, that card, but it's not gonna get Luka prices. His Topps Chrome Refractor is probably about a $10,000 card. Last sold in August for $7,200. His Topps Chrome base is about a $7,500 card. Wow, look at that. Let me guess. August 11th. No, August 26th.
You always know the date.
So, he's not cheap. But
he's also an MVP though.
He's an MVP. People talk about likability and stuff like that, narrative and stuff like that. Do you think that matters a lot?
Oh, 100%, a large amount. It's huge. I think it's honestly for Harden and Westbrook and guys like that. It's more about we just have enough sample size to know that they're just. It's very, very likely that they're not going to be the alpha on a championship team, and so people are just sort of bored of it and they move on. And there's just no more mystery and intrigue and prospecting that goes on. I think that's a lot. That to me is the biggest part. But yeah, his likability and is a big factor.
Okay, the Harden thing is just super interesting. When I listen to guys like Bill Simmons talk about Harden, they say people are going to look at his stats. They're going to look at the pieces of paper that depict performance 20 years from now, and they're going to say, "Why isn't this guy not regarded higher? He's a statistical anomaly." But in the moment, he's definitely out of favor right now.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be a fun guy to collect as a PC guy. I will add that. If you if you were a big fan of his, and he's got lots of cool cards. He's in one of the better National Treasure rookie classes. He's got Topps Chrome rookies. He's got all the great Panini cards through the early 2000s. He's got cool cards. He'd be fun to collect, and he's not Luka Zion expensive, so it'd be relatively cheap to get some of his more fun cards, his gold refractors and stuff like that. He'd be fun.
Yeah, I love the fact that his Prism Silver, would be his Topps Chrome refractor, and it's numbered to 500. Yeah. I love that.
Only $7,000.
Yeah, right. Or I would say 10 probably is where that one's at right now, but
only $10,000, that's where we're at with this hobby, dude. It's only $10,000. What a steal! God, that card is cheap.
Yeah, because I found myself looking at it, and I'm a guy who picked up a Randy Moss Topps Chrome base card, and I've got a Mike Trout Topps Update gem and stuff like that. I've just got these little random cards like that of important players, and I was like, would I pick up a James Harden card? No. No, not at those prices, man. Not at $10K for his refractor, no.
That's one of my favorite parts about collecting, when people they want to own one iconic card of all their just a wide gamut of players historically. I think it's a really really fun way to collect in the hobby, and I've thought about doing that for different players, but I never quite pull the trigger on it as a major project. But getting a PSA 10 rookie of Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett and Larry Fitzgerald. I'm just naming random great Hall of Fame players, but I think that's just a fun way that you a lot of those guys aren't Luka, Trey, Jordan, Giannis, LeBron expensive, and you can get them relatively cheap. And if you pick the right card and find the right collector card for you, that's a good combination of low pop and decent price. It's a pretty fun way to jump into the hobby. And you and I know lots of guys that do that. We're you and I have heard a lot of guys be I needed a Mahomes card. They would never in a million years buy a Mahomes card. They're pure basketball, but they've seen enough sample size where they're dude, I know so many people collecting Mahomes. I think I need to get one, now before it's too late, because I want a PSA 10 of a Hall of Famer of everybody, and Mahomes is one. It's just got to be in my collection. I think it's a really cool way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. This made me think about Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill What do you guys in the chat, Josh and I know the answer. What do you guys in the chat think that his Prism rookie PSA 10 is 2016, so there's no distinction between silver and base. They're the same thing. What do you think Tyreek Hill's Prism PSA 10 sells for without looking it up? What do you think it goes for? I'm taking guesses. His Prism PSA 10, it's a Pop 140. Pop 140. If anybody even has a guess. Tyreek Hill, Prism PSA 10. 500 from Mr. September. Any other guesses? 150 from Heartland Hustle. Okay, that's quite the range already. 1,800. 290.
Definitely not that high.
150,
Definitely not 1,800.
900.
I don't know. I don't know the answer. Can I give my guess? I'll give my guess.
Okay, give your guess. Give your guess.
Like 450, 500 around there.
All right, 700, 370, $16. That would be more in my range of guess. 780, 350, 350. All right, here's the answer, guys. $375. $375 for Tyreek Hill's Prism PSA 10. Has a really funny looking chart because this is August. This is August, or nope, I'm sorry, it's September 6th. And then
Preseason.
we had these crazy September sales, and then it went all the way down to $127 in October, and now it's back up $375.
What's your point, Mr. Hodge?
Yeah, well, look, Musimbo23 says it's the NFL. Who cares? Exactly. Tyreek Hill is an exciting wide receiver on a great team, but that's it. He has a card that's worth $400 in a PSA 10 of his main Prism rookie card. There are collectors and markets for every player out there. That's if there's anything I learned from doing Card Ladder, it is the size and scope of the hobby is phenomenal and much bigger than my little corner of it. So Tyreek Hill cards are $400. Just let that sink in. His rookie PSA 10 is $400. And then here's another fun one on a totally other end of the spectrum.
Are you saying he's expensive or cheap?
I don't have an opinion one way or the other. It is what it is. He has a card that is worth $400 in his Prism PSA 10. That's what I'm saying is Tyreek Hill has collectors out there or investors, or whatever the hell they are.
Right. Someone's buying those cards.
Someone is buying multiple people are buying those cards.
You're saying you would have guessed like 100, but you're like, damn, $400. People are buying him. I didn't think about that. Dude,
I would have never even looked up that card. It's so not on my radar. I wouldn't even think about that card.
Well, he's not a, investable point guard.
Right. He's not a right. All right, now here's another side of the coin. Or maybe another side of the dice. This is the Pete Rose 1963. It's a rookie card, but it's got 4 players on it.
That's his rookie card?
That's his rookie card. Pete Rose. Looks like this.
Sure.
Courtesy of Ladder Submissions, where I learned so much from that freaking list that now is over 4,000 cards. Pete Rose, PSA 9, last sold for $100,000.
What?
On September 15th. It's a Pop 30.
Oh, okay.
Pop 30, but there is one higher. There is a PSA 10. The PSA 10 can't get data from Golden right now, but I was able to get it from Heritage. They have one sale of this card, $717,000.
What's the pop?
In the vintage boom of 2016, the pop is one.
Oh, shit.
Pop one. There she blows.
That's now my second favorite pop one that I didn't know. The Julius Irving is a pop one. That's like my favorite story ever.
And so even after the vintage boom of 2016, using what card am I using a PSA 8 to predict the value? It appears just to be about $750,000 card right now.
Whew. Damn.
I'm just saying, man, there's so much to this hobby that none of us could possibly have the bandwidth to understand individually. But if one were to take a comprehensive look at the hobby, that's why we published that market cap figure, right? The ladder market cap is $2.6 billion. That's why we published that figure.
So is the hobby still undervalued? As much as I say that, like you're kind of proving the point that like it's not really that undervalued. People are all over the place.
I don't know. I don't know that we can make extrapolations one way or the other based on this. All I'm saying is there's so much more than meets the eye. So much that we never see just staying in our own lanes. Even if we didn't say nobody has the bandwidth to process just how many corners of this hobby there are. That's what I'm saying.
What's up, Bennett? Yep. Pete Rose.
All right.
I just always think of that clip of him diving into third base and like hitting his face in the ground.
What's up, Randall? Grant says hide that market cap.
His last name is Hodge. H-O-J. Hodge. H-O-J. It's not a silent J. You got to say it. Hodge. Yep.
Chris Hodges.
You guys should just have a chat. You and Max just go for it. How was your Christmas? Break it down, brother. The rest of us
having a great holiday season over here, man. I hope you are as well. Having a great holiday season.
Just kidding, Max.
Well, I still have many questions. I have one from Christina. Christina that could use input from our friends in the chat. The question is, how do you explain the hobby to your family? Christina sent this in today. First of all, why did you send this in today, Christina? What are you thinking right now?
Because
the holidays.
Here, come on the camera.
The holidays, right?
Your hair looks good. Just took a shower.
Hey, Josh. So the reason I asked this question was because...
Well, you're hiding behind the words.
Oh, sorry. Hi, guys. You're so weird. Hi, guys. The reason... hey, Christine. Other Christina. Is that from the nativity set?
That is. You got it.
Yeah.
I would have never known that ever.
Yeah.
Smarter than you are.
The reason I asked this question was because I've seen on Instagram a lot of people saying that they had some random questions about what they've been doing and like cards and things. And then I think it was David who was like on his story. Yeah, Josh saw it. Like if any number of you have had to explain the hobby to people, then we're still not that big. So I guess that's like why I sent that in, because I was looking at your stories and I was like, really, you need people still to ask you questions.
Have you ever tried to explain the hobby to your family?
I mean, yes, because we started Card Ladder and like I had to explain like what I was doing with all of our free time. But
why'd you quit your job?
I haven't.
Right. No, Chris.
How does it go? How do you explain it to them?
I asked you, not for me to explain.
All right, well, get out of here then.
Well, I didn't. Okay, bye, Josh. Bye, chat.
What's up, Shia? I see you, buddy. All right, well, what's the answer?
You're asking me now?
Yes.
If you don't know, then you don't know.
you have to ask, you'll never know.
Isn't that like the obnoxious arrogant? No, I mean, let's see. I think it's just like I think I would describe it as like a fun hobby where there's something for everybody. You know, like, do you like sports? Oh, then you're definitely gonna like sports cards. There's cool stuff, and it's a great investment.
Catching Heater says it's like a presentation every time.
Oh yeah,
pulling out the slides. Well, do you have 20 minutes? Let's talk about
just
this.
have that, like, you got to have that shit ready to go no matter where you are.
Dude, you want to know my approach? Because I've been in a number of different settings where I've been confronted with trying to explain what's wrong with me. And I found that I don't explain it at all. I self-deprecate, and I say, it's a stupid, nostalgic, childish thing that I do for fun. It's very nerdy, and it's weird, and I'm just into it. It's just it's weird. It's just my own thing. And when I put it that way, inevitably what happens is the person says, "Oh, I have something like that too." I have dolls or something, or I have this, or I have Legos or something. And like, because I when I was at my firm last summer, I was like, I have to think of a way to explain why I spend all my free time doing this. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna bite the bullet and just say, yeah, I get it. This is, you guys are not gonna understand this, but I have a really stupid, childish hobby, and it involves 3x5 sports cards, and I don't know, it's just silly, and it's a weird quirk.
People want to know about this doll thing. You got to expand on that. That's just a weird.
Well, I don't want to blow up anybody's spot. It was a more senior lawyer at the firm. I was explaining to her, like, I'm into sports cards, and it's just this.
Like Barbie dolls?
No, like Madame Alexander dolls, or like actually, like, if you have the original, and like American Girl dolls, like if you have those original dolls in their boxes that haven't been played with, they're pretty expensive.
Okay. I will say that I still kind of do what you did, and I give that answer, but some of my like more successful friends have been reaching out to me about it more recently, and like, hey, don't you do cards? I heard something about it, and like, I know you're into it. Like, tell me about it. And it's more of like they're taking it more seriously on like an investment perspective. Because like a couple years ago, it was just like, oh, cards, how's that going for you? Just to like make conversation. But now it's more of like, oh, how do I get into that?
Yeah, and that's the other thing, that the risk of my approach is somebody says, oh, dude, you downplayed cards for like 2 years. You didn't even try to tell me about this. And
yeah,
like,
what the hell?
what the hell?
Because we still, like, a lot of us still want it for ourselves.
So we had a question about that. This came from Darth Brizzo. He said, do you think most card collectors really want most people to collect cards?
No. It's funny because that's like my whole shtick, but now I'm like, do I really want more people?
I know.
The more people.
It made me pause for a second. I was like, wait, what? Oh.
We're gonna have to zag away from cards completely. Get into dolls.
That's the zag.
Hamlin, and McGill. Have you seen that show yet?
No, I haven't. What's that from?
It's from
the Breaking Bad prequel.
The Breaking Bad spinoff, yeah.
Yeah, I know that. That's the guy's name on there, Bob Odenkirk. I know that.
That's a great show. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a great stamps. My grandpa collected stamps. That's zag to stamps, bro.
Yeah, stamps. We used to have a landlord.
Better Call Saul. Thank you.
Better Call Saul. Yeah, we used to have a landlord who collected stamps, and he collected Ford T-model Fords, like the cars.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, collecting is just it takes different forms, obviously, but people collect, man. Collecting is just blood.
All collectibles are killing it right now, right? I think like comics and video games and everything's killing it because like there's a precedent set with crypto where people are like, do I need to invest my money in the stock market? That's kind of boring, and like there's more fun things that I can buy that also make money. And especially sports cards, they've made more money than the stock market. Why would you not want to buy something more fun that connects you to your childhood and dually is a good investment? It just seems like a home run. Like stocks are boring. Who the fuck is like has fun buying stocks other than people that just like making money?
Yeah, stocks. There's so many barriers to entry in stocks, and it's just become a very stilted world.
Look at this guy buying Beanie Babies. Was it the Princess Di one? That's the only one I know about.
I know that the tag matters, like what it says on the tag matters.
Oh my gosh. If you're buying Beanie Babies, I have 2, like, Tupperware, like, big, huge wrapping paper size, like, containers of them.
Oh, look who wants to be on camera now. Come on, camera, sell your Beanie Babies. Go back over my head.
DM me because I have some at my mom's house. That's all I'm saying.
Damn, you got those rare ones that I'm talking about, like the
Yeah.
Charizard Beanie Babies and all that.
I got the Blizzard one that they had to stop making because Dairy Queen sued them for using the name. Yeah.
Trae Young Beanie Babies on fire. Splash.
So I bet Beanie Babies are probably killing it right now.
I had that one, and you could buy little like tag slab like guards and like put your tags on, like protect your tags. Yeah, I had that.
Slab
one.
guards for Beanie Babies.
That's always been an issue, in my opinion, with a lot of collectibles, is that there's just not ways to store them that preserve the collectability.
I had that one.
This guy says this episode of the crossover is off the rails. This is hour 2, man. It's always off the rails.
Yeah, and this isn't even anything anyway. The Office episode, that one went off the rails.
That was the best
We got
episode.
83. We got 83 people off the rails with us.
Yeah,
Beanie Babies. I need to look at those. Funko Pop. That's another one.
Oh.
All right, hit us with a question. Hit us with a question. We are off the rails. Hit us with a question.
All right. Let's get. This is an academic question. This is a good question for the hobby. It'll sober us up. How do you figure? This comes from Kyle. This comes from Kyle Collects. He says, "How do you figure out comps for a card that sells infrequently?" And then he gives an example. The last Big Men on Court Z-Pete Jordan sold in July at BGS 9, and the value of the raw varies widely. So he's thinking about trying to use multipliers and stuff. And honestly, using raw copies to create multipliers is very difficult, especially with Jordan inserts. So that's the question. How do you figure out comps for a card that sells infrequently? How do you figure out what it's worth?
Well, try to find similar items to that have sold recently. Try to find a similar player, and then determine the ratio between the player you want and that player, and then try to find similar parallels, similar cards from the same year, similar players from the same rookie class. You just kind of get creative with it and try to find comps. You're the king of this. Just take it. Why the fuck am I even talking?
Well, you've waxed poetic on this topic because one of the things that's really nice about cards that don't have a lot of comps is that the buyer and the seller are not beholden to the comp, but there's room for negotiation. Yeah, like Carvin just said, go high, go lower, and then you guys settle on what the sellers want to let it go for and what the buyer's willing to pay.
Yeah.
But there are more scientific ways to do it, and it just requires a little bit of math and a little bit of historical mapping. So we do use this method on Card Ladder, obviously, for tons of cards. We predict values. But the way the method works is pretty simple, but you need the all-time sales history. It's one of the reasons why we create these. You use the sales history of the card that you want to price, and then you find another card that will be the proxy for it. like Josh did. Maybe it's a card of a similar player. Maybe it's the card of the same player, but from a different but similar set. You try to find something that you can line it up with that has sold recently. And then you look back over history and you say, how did these two line up over history? Were they the same price? Was one half the price of the other? How did they line up over history? And then you make the assumption that the relationship between the two will hold over time. And you say, okay, so Jordan Big Men on Court Z-Pete BGS9 was 2x the value of the base version. That was true 2 years ago. It was true a year ago. Well, the base version just sold for $2,000. The Z-Pete hasn't sold in a while, but if we use the 2x multiplier, now you're at $4,000. The part where judgment comes into play, the difficult part, is picking the right card, making sure that you pick a card that serves as a good proxy. But there's no reason to say you only need to pick one. Pick 5. Come up with 5 proxies and take an average. So just sit down, do some algebra, do a little bit of digging. That's one thing we try to do to make lives easier is we give you all-time sales histories, and we give you a compare tool so you can do exactly what I just said.
Remember when you cheated on me the other day?
I know what made you think of that. You were like, this guy is rambling. I remember he rambled on Brett's show. That guy went on Brett's show.
Because Brett had this face that I just had for the last 30 seconds, and I was like, I know exactly what he's fucking thinking right now.
Dude, I tried to deliberately not do that on his show, but by the time it was at the end, I was like, it's happening.
It's hilarious. It was just really weird to watch it, because you were on the bottom with the same background, and I'm just like, wait, why aren't I talking? Oh, God, this is so weird.
Yeah. Because Brett's doing this thing called coffin cards. Coffin cards. And so I went on, and I was on with the Captain 37, who was showing off his Brady and really Peyton Manning cards. And he had PMGs and stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing more people show their cards, tell the stories of their cards. Yeah, that's true. That's true, David. You are not the only victim of that either.
Every time I ask Chris to do some simple task for Card Ladder, it's 7 hours later. He's like, "Oh, I wrote this 7-page document. Go look at it." Oh my God.
You're like, it's a yes or no question.
I know. It was I just wanted you to come up with a number, and that's cool though. It's pretty detailed.
I remember I was interviewing for a firm, and one of the lawyers said, there's 2 types of lawyer. There's a lawyer who will give you option A, option B, option C, option D, option E, and it'll be very well researched and I'll understand everything. And then there's a lawyer who just tells you, here's what I think you should do.
Right.
And the guy was like, I want the lawyer who says, here's what I think you should do. And I was like, shit, buddy. I'm the first one. I'm not the second one. But, it's something I keep in my pocket, obviously, is to think about. At the end of the day, people need guidance. They don't just need an overload of information.
How often do people say that to you, about you, to your face, about hey man, you have a lot of detail. You talk a lot.
Well, it's funny because in law school, that's run of the mill. So everybody in law school is like that. And law school only made me worse. Law school definitely made me worse because you're just surrounded by people who are also like that. But I believe that everybody who knows me reasonably well would tell me that to my face. For sure. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. No.
I mean, you're a very self-aware guy. You know what's going on. You're not trying to hide it anymore.
I've got a clue. I've got a clue. What's scary is the fact that this is what I'm like if I'm self-aware. Imagine if I was not self-aware.
There's plenty of people on IG who are not self-aware.
That's so true.
What's up, Kramer? Hit us with a question. Let's go. Someone on the chat hit us with a question.
Midwest Vintage Cards. I'm the second. Yeah, it's a good way to be, man.
Dude, I'm self-aware that I am very short, sarcastic, and like kind of like a know-it-all. I'm very self-aware of that, so don't worry about it. Chris can attest to it as well, I'm sure.
That's a good way to be.
Very short, very sarcastic. I mean, if you see me make fun of Trae Young, I'm just like, if you don't believe in my way, it's the wrong way. You guys know that.
Yeah, that's a good way to be because it's good to just have a take, even if who cares? Just have a take.
I don't care. That's the beauty of it. If someone doesn't agree, that's fine. If they do, great. I really don't care.
Shout out to Basketball Card Collector 93. He says he's a PE teacher. I feel like we have quite a few teachers in the hobby, which is pretty cool.
Charles Barkley is one of my favorite analysts because he just doesn't ever let things bother him. Like he just does not care. So like, did you see the Kevin Durant thing? Did you see that?
Hilarious. Yes.
He's like, yeah. And Charles is like, yeah, it's fine. Like these guys, that's fine. Most guys would get really bothered by that. He's just like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah. No, that was a good way to be. That was in later in the same segment when they were making fun of him, Shaq was making fun of what his face looked like because he was just so like stunned. Barkley announced that he bet $100,000 on the Trailblazers to win the West with a payout of $2.8 million. That's a guy who triples down on the same bad idea year after year.
I think that whole thing looked more bad on Durant than Barkley because Durant is like such a baby that Barkley says one critical thing about Kyrie, which is justified. He's got to sit there and be a baby about it. He's not even looking at the camera. He's like, look.
Yeah. No, he's like deliberately like, screw you guys.
Durant is just kind of a baby sometimes. Just suck it up, man.
Yeah.
Not everybody's mad at you all the time, Kevin. Like a lot of people like you. It's okay.
Yeah. And plus you just got to understand this is the game that the media plays.
That's what I don't understand about Kyrie. It's like you know this is how it works, dude. Like get over it, man.
Very true.
And Kevin Durant's got the burner accounts to like defend himself. Jeez, man.
The burner accounts is that's when you might be in too deep.
You should once again take a page out of my man LeBron's book. Learn how to deal with the media like a pro.
Yep.
People were getting real feisty with me in the first hour in the chat about LeBron needing help to win championships. For sure. LeBron's had Hall of Fame teammates just the same.
Yeah, you'd be hard-pressed to name a great player who didn't.
Many NBA players are babies. Yeah.
You see, I actually admire NBA athletes right now quite a bit because many of them have learned the lesson we all learn on social media, which is that humility and self-deprecation are the root to are the path of least resistance. It's like guys like Zion and Luka, not so much Trae and Morant. They're very humble, very, very humble. They just give very humble answers to things. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, most of them are really good with the media. A lot of those. I mean, they're kids, man.
I know.
A lot of them are kids. They're 21 years old, and we expect them to get up there and say the perfect thing. And a lot of them do, man. A lot of them are really good in front of the media.
Yeah, they are.
And then some of them are Kyrie, and they're not.
This was a question from Legend of MJ23. Is Bob M. Track a code name for LeBron James?
No, it's a real guy named Bob.
It's a real guy who is deep in the hobby and knows a tremendous amount. He put a comment on a post the other day explaining how LeBron BGS 9.5 was really only a pop one because he had located the other four and they were never leaving. I was just like, yeah, that guy, I'd love to just have a beer with that guy in a normal world sometime.
I didn't make it seem like LeBron never had help. I was saying that he has made it to the finals with very little help, more than anyone else. So I'll clarify. I said this to several people, but Bob's impressiveness is not in his like early one-of-ones. It's that he has the early one-of-ones and the newer one-of-ones. When everyone else in the hobby is obsessed with all those cards, how is he still obtaining How is he still obtaining one of one, like 2018 Prism Black LeBrons when he also has the top? I don't understand how he could have all of that. Like, people are all over that stuff right now. The 101 thing is huge right now. People are on it. He's still the one getting those cards. How?
It's pretty impressive. Similar to the great Exquisite Collector, who continues to collect amazing LeBron cards, whether they're a few grand when he was, getting them back in the day, or whether they're enormous amounts that they are now. He keeps on going. That's inspiration. And those are always the collectors I look to follow and to show the way. The Bob M. Trax, Exquisite Collector, Stephen Go, Nat Turner. Always look to those guys because I just want to emulate those guys. Those guys do it on the level that, I just respect at the highest amount.
Yeah, experience goes a long way, dude. You got to learn from your elders.
You do. TJ Bub, I saw this question was on somebody's, I can't remember who, was on somebody's story today, and then he asked it again. What do you guys think about the post-COVID market for cards? Do we see a meaningful decline in market participants?
I don't think so. There's too much momentum. There's too many new things popping up where too many people are excited and into it. I think that the COVID spike is more of an indicator of new people entering the hobby and not necessarily just like an increase in prices, And like those new people coming into the hobby a lot of them are here to stay. And I mean, sure, we might see some dips and stuff. Like obviously, like it can't go up forever. We'll see some dips and like speculation will diminish and we'll see ups and downs. But I don't know that we're ever going to see like a price level or like a market cap that we saw before. Like we're not just going to like go back to 2018 prices. I think that maybe that's what people are looking for is like when are we going to go back to 2016 prices when that we're not going to see again.
No, we're not. No, we're not. One other note on Bob and Tim. Those guys collected LeBron from day one, and they never wavered. They may have dropped stuff, added stuff, traded stuff, but they were player collectors from day one, and they never wavered. They never wavered off that path. And I just think there's something to be said about that, too, about consistency over a long period and just holding true to a player.
And they also pay over market.
Yes, they do.
I know from experience.
Yep.
Those guys offer the most money. When I have those things, they're the ones who come finding me on the DMs and they offer the most. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. They are the most active, the most they're doing the most searching, the most hunting, the most obsessive, trying to find stuff, and then when they find it, they offer the most. It's not a secret.
Well said.
You want 101 LeBrons? Guess what? You got to offer big.
Don't even want 101 LeBron. I was looking at the 101 LeBron the other day. That's group chats and highly influential pages make people buy things in this hobby. And I was looking at LeBron 101s just because I love Bob, his page, so much.
I think there's like maybe like this feeling that some of these bigger accounts find stuff or buy stuff at cheaper rates than the rest of us, and they like are amazing at finding steals and deals. I don't think that's the case really at all. Because I would, consider myself a little bit on the realm of those bigger accounts, and I don't get stuff cheap. I pay up, and I think those are just the people that have a lot of self-conviction, and they just pay the price, man. Those big accounts that you see that just like get those big cards, and you're like, God, how'd they get another Luka RPA? How'd they get another? How is this happening? Where are they finding? They're just paying for it, Like nobody is selling stuff cheap right now. There's not anybody out there that's like, oh. It happens very rarely. You'll see an eBay steal, but like it's just not consistent. And the guys that are paying for that stuff, they're just paying up because they believe in it that much.
Yeah, dude. Yep, the way of the collector.
There's definitely steals. There's definitely guys that find the steals, but All the people on here that have big cards, I promise you, those guys are paying all-time highs.
Yes, they are.
That I know for a fact. I mean, even Card Collector 291, Kramer, dude, I know how much he pays for some of this stuff. It's not cheap. It's like he's finding LeBron 101 freaking exquisite second-year exquisite stuff for cheap. You see him post that big stuff? He finds it and he pays for it.
Excellent question, Yamwax. Is it better to hide what you're looking for or broadcast it?
Hide. I posted that I was looking for that Roger Federer card, and people lost their fucking minds, and people were trying to like destroy me on prices, and I was just like, God, that was the worst mistake. I'm never doing that again. The gravity. It depends on the size of your account, I guess, but like, I feel like it never really helps. Just like search for it on your own.
All right, so I'm gonna go against that advice, even though it's good advice. I need the Luka NBA City Hoops Premium Stock 1/1. I need that card. Somebody find it. I'm overpaying. You know, there's really no difference between me and Exquisite Collector or Bob Track. We're all just one and the same. I'm paying big. Somebody please find that card. I need that card badly.
The 101 stuff, you got to broadcast it because it's like a sheer, like, I need to find it.
Yeah, and I know that if it goes to one of a couple of guys,
gone.
It's gone. It's just gone. So it's from the premium stock, the Hoops premium stock, which is like this new, like clearly Donruss thing.
Did we never talk about Raz or breaking on the show? Is that just because we don't do it?
That's probably a small factor. But nobody has questions about it either.
That. Yeah. That's just like a huge piece of it. Breaking and all that stuff. Like, it's just like a huge part of the market, but like, don't touch it.
Yeah, I have ideas about breaking, but I'm not going to give them away for free on a live. But I have good ideas.
Let's hit one more question and call it a night.
Oh, we talked about Curry. That's a big question. We'll skip that one. We talked about Bob Track. These are just very serious, smart questions. All right, I'll do this question. This will circle us back. This will circle us back to the very first thing we talked about. This comes from Keating Cards. Kevin Durant, current prices on rookie cards. Under, properly, or overvalued?
Properly. I'm so sick of this question, dude. Stop asking me this fucking question.
Who is the most undervalued athlete in the hobby?
Let me give you my top 5 picks of the day. Here we go, guys. Kevin Durant, PSA 10, white tops, base card, number 4. Trae Young, Prism, PSA 10, number 3. D'Angelo Russell.
Offlix, that's a great question. That's a smart person behind that account. That's a you win observer of the season.
You really do, man. Some dude, they see our show and they know what we're talking about, and some dudes really can understand what we're saying. Good job.
The answer is yes, by the way.
They do a lot of things after we start talking about it. After we started talking about collecting, all of a sudden, my top 5 favorite PC cards started popping up on everyone's channels, didn't they?
They sure did.
That's a fucking miracle.
They sure did.
Here are the top 5 Trae Young cards in my PC.
And if you don't know what PC means, that's personal collection.
Well, see, here's what happened, dude. You and I talk about buying what you like and collecting and, buying the GOATs all the time. And then after the market crashed on a lot of those base Prism cards, they had to figure out something else to talk about, pivot and try to make themselves look smart. So they had to start talking about their PC.
Yeah. Poor guys had to just go back to the roots of collecting and what actually got us where we are.
They had to figure out how to actually work after that. Oh, dude, there you go. Top 5 of the top 5s. I like that one. Favorite Christmas trees this year? Oh. My actual Christmas tree? I really like the Galactic LeBron Christmas tree was cool. Stephen Go, his tree was amazing, obviously. Lots of good trees.
Go's was more of a tank than a tree. It was like bird's eye view of a tank, just this fat tank coming right for me.
It was a big tree.
It was like a fucking Rockefeller.
All right, that's a good one to end on, I think.
You guys are going to be the Matthew Berry and Field Yates of sports cards. I'm not sure how to take that.
I think that's a good thing.
Can we have a whole episode devoted to who we don't like in the hobby? Man, I feel like that's a lot of our episodes.
Don't you tune in every week? Last week we got going on some people, man.
We don't like a lot. We don't like a lot. Who's the most undervalued Trae Young card in the market? His base Prism PSA 10.
I'd say his Prism Orange, which was had for $20K not long ago.
I really want to do that study of the total market cap of all 2018 Prism cards. It's like $7 trillion.
Dude, yeah. There's at least 150,000 graded.
Like the Fast Break Blue Luka, where does that rank on the ladder of like best Luka Prism cards? Is it like his 17th best Prism card?
Like in terms of current value? Hold on.
Sure. Like 18th best?
I just got through 20 and we're only at 40K.
All right. It's just God. And I love how people like I see an account there like, oh, the Fast Break Blue Prism finally getting the respect it deserves. What the fuck?
It's probably between like 50th and 60th. Most expensive. It's right in between his Next Day BGS 9 and his Color Blast PSA 10. And, I once had this card. Christine and I had a PSA 10. We bought it out of a display case at Bullpen, and I sold it for like $650 because I was just like, this card will never be worth more than that.
It's out 16,000. Like all of his 50th best Prism rookie card is more expensive than Tim Duncan's most iconic rookie card.
Yeah, that's a little bit crazy.
All right, let's end on that extremely pessimistic, salty, sarcastic end.
Yeah, happy holidays otherwise, guys.
Other than that, it was a pretty good show.
All right, buddy.
All right. See you guys. We'll see you next week. Oh, we'll be back on Friday, right?
Yeah.
New Year's Eve.
Oh, it's Friday, New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We don't have any plans.
Stay tuned.
New Year's Day. New Year's Day.
Oh, Friday's New Year's Day?
Yeah, we're golden, bro.
Yeah, Friday's New Year's Day. Yep, Friday we'll be back.
It's like a regular day. Happy holidays, guys. Stay safe. Have fun out there. Don't buy John Moran. See ya.
The future is here. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. A Hot 100 chart. Updated data. The most accurate price guide on the market. Every card has its own profile with a wealth of information. Know the precise, real-time value of any card in the system. On demand. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby.